With the Giants' Week 15 loss to the Washington Commanders, they are still currently number one in the 2026 NFL draft order. But on today's show, we're going to take a deep dive into how likely will it be when the season is over. Will the Giants still have that number one pick? If you want that to happen and you want the Giants to make the number one overall selection in the NFL draft coming up this spring, hit that thumbs up icon for me right now. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports, and I am your host, Marshall Green. Let's talk about it. How likely is it the New York Giants will pick number one? If the draft was today, they would be doing so, thanks to their 8-game losing streak. There are 3 teams left with just 2 wins, sitting at 2-12. The New York Giants, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Tennessee Titans. So quickly, we can just say you should be rooting for the Las Vegas Raiders to win games, and you should root for the Tennessee Titans and the Fighting Cam Wards to win another game. With those teams all being tied, it comes down to the strength of schedule, SOS, that you see on your screen. The lower and closer that number is to 0, the tiebreaker leans in your favor. So the Giants have had an easier strength of schedule than the Raiders and the Tennessee Titans. Therefore, they own the tiebreaker and they pick number one. We'll come back to this photo to talk about it, but the New York Giants have 3 remaining games. You will take on the Minnesota Vikings this week after they just beat the Dallas Cowboys. They sit at 6-8, and I was absolutely shocked when I saw the New York Giants were favored by 1.5 points in this game. In Week 17, the New York Giants will take on the Las Vegas Raiders at 2-12, and then against the Cowboys in Week 18, you will take them on, and they are 6-7-1. So with the Giants sitting at 2-12, it will be important to also note that the Cleveland Browns, the New York Jets, and the Arizona Cardinals also have 3 losses. Why is that important? Because if the New York Giants beat any of the 3 teams we mentioned, they will have 3 wins, and then they will be in a tiebreaker situation for them. So we want the Raiders, Titans, Browns, Jets, and Arizona Cardinals to win games. The New York Giants would have the tiebreaker over the Jets and the Cardinals due to strength of schedule, but not the Cleveland Browns. Shout out to ESPN as they have put odds out for how likely it is that each team is going to be picking number one. And the New York Giants odds following the slate of games this Sunday is actually 10% higher than it was last Sunday. The projected draft slot for the Giants is 3.9, so the number 4 overall pick. ESPN is giving the Giants a 16.4% chance to get the number 1 overall pick, 77.8% chance to pick in the top 5, and they have clinched a top 10 pick. The New York Giants have the 4th best odds to get the number 1 overall pick, with the Las Vegas Raiders leading the way at 39%, the Browns at 19.9%, and the Tennessee Titans at 19.1%. One thing I think that ESPN is missing in their calculations, though, is they don't have anything in their model that says Patrick Mahomes is no longer playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Tennessee Titans remaining schedule, something to pay attention to. They will play the Chiefs with Gardner Minshew under center. That's a winnable game. They have another winnable game against the New Orleans Saints, and they have a tough divisional matchup in Week 18. I think there's a shot the Titans and Cam Ward win one of these 2 games. That would be huge. Then you take a look at the Las Vegas Raiders schedule, and they have a couple of winnable games as well. I don't think they're going to beat the Texans. I am pretty confident in that. They play our New York Football Giants. That could be a winnable game. Cross your fingers. Knock on wood that it is. And then in Week 18, they have a division game against the Chiefs without Mahomes. And it would probably be the most Raiders thing ever for them to go ahead and lose to the Giants, own the number 1 overall pick, and then blow it in Week 18 by winning a meaningless division game against the Mahomesless Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to come down to that Giants versus Raiders game. I think whichever team loses that game, which might actually feel a little bit more like a win at this point, they are going to pick number 1. So if the Giants lose that game, I think they're going to pick number 1. If the Raiders lose that game, they most likely are going to pick number 1 And I'll just say this because, as Marshall, are you rooting for losses? Are you tanking? One, I don't think the Giants need to tank. They're that bad of a football team. You may need to tank against the Raiders because they are right there with you for trying to be the worst team in the NFL. I always want the New York Giants to win, but I know how impactful having that number one pick would be for the future New York Giants. Like, these culture wins, say whatever you want. I don't want to poo-poo wins because I want to give respect to the players, and winning in this league is hard. But a Week 17 win against the Las Vegas Raiders, one, it does nothing for the Giants. There's no carryover to next year, and it would kind of just feel like a slap in the face. You get that number one pick, and you could trade down in a draft where teams like the Jets or maybe the Cardinals are looking to trade up to select a quarterback. And if you can execute a trade like that, you will be able to press fast forward on that type of rebuild or whatever you're in. Look what the Chicago Bears were able to do just a couple of years ago when they held the number one overall pick and they made a trade with the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers were picking number 9. They jumped 8 spots to number 1. So they swapped pick 1 and pick 9. And then the Chicago Bears got a second-round pick in that draft. They got a future first-round pick. They got a future second-round pick. And they got DJ Moore, who was playing like a Pro Bowl wide receiver at that time. So you drop down 8 spots, and you add to your bag a top 65 pick, another first-round pick, which became the number 1 overall pick. Shout out to the fighting Bryce Youngs and the Carolina Panthers. And then you got a 2025 second-round pick and DJ Moore. That type of deal for the New York Giants could expedite this rebuild, retool, and put you in the fast lane to get back to being a relevant franchise. Imagine if the Giants move down to number 6, and then they get another first-round pick for the New York Jets, and they get a future first-round pick from the Jets, and a second-round pick. Even Joe Shane couldn't mess up all of those picks. And let's just make this abundantly clear. No, I know what you're thinking. No, don't even think it. Don't even say it. Shut your mouth. The New York Giants are not drafting Fernando Mendoza. And that's not to say I don't think Fernando is going to be a good football player. One, you have a guy that looks like a franchise quarterback in Jackson Dart. Two, ownership loves Jackson Dart. And I can promise you this. All the GM candidates that are going to be applying for this job, if the New York Giants fire Joe Shane, which, knock on wood, fingers crossed they do, they're not going to get second interviews if their plan to fix the Giants is to draft Fernando Mendoza number 1. There is no way, no how that John Mara is going to hire the next GM, which is a person that doesn't believe in Dart and wants to take another quarterback. That is not happening. A lot more to discuss on today's show, but it is the holiday season, and it's time for you to be a real one and get your Giants Now by Chat Sports t-shirt, the best shirt in the game, with our own logo on it. It is embroidered. It is sweet. A couple of people have already got it. Shout out to my guy, Marty Malela. Shout out to Scott Hernan. Shout out to Michael Guerrero and a bunch of others. Major shout out to all of y'all. When you get your shirt, send me a picture of it. I'd really like to see it, but you got to go to chatsports.com/Giants Now shirt. Okay, so what happens if the New York Giants were to beat the Las Vegas Raiders? Because there is a chance, and probably a pretty good chance, the New York Giants are going to beat the Raiders. The Raiders are a dumpster fire. They have been shut out now 2 times in this season. They averaged 1.7 yards per play yesterday against the Eagles, and they are a dumpster fire. It's going to come down to that game. Let's say the New York Giants win that ball game and they fall to 3 wins. Again, you'll be battling with the Jets, the Browns, and the Arizona Cardinals, and it could come down to strength of schedule, which at this point kind of leans in favor of the Giants, but it is very close to the Jets, and that could change with some outcomes over the last couple of weeks. I want to take a look again at this ESPN photo. ESPN is giving the Giants a 77.8% chance to pick in the top 5. So they are even – I bet this model thinks the Giants are going to beat the Raiders, and I probably think that they are. I hope that they don't, because best for the franchise. But you will still most likely be picking number 5, and ESPN thinks you are most likely going to be picking number 4 overall. But again, you will be in a battle with the Cleveland Browns, who their final 3 games are against the Buffalo Bills, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cincinnati Bengals. They're not beating the Bills. I seriously doubt they're beating the Steelers. I think there is a shot, though, that the Cincinnati Bengals could go and beat, or the Browns could go and beat the Cincinnati Bengals. And that's what you want. You want the Browns to win another game this year so they get to 4 wins. Therefore, if the Giants do win versus the Las Vegas Raiders, it's not really impactful. And same song, same tune for the New York Jets as well. I think they could go and beat a Saints team. The Saints, look, I know they beat the Giants. They're not that good. I know they've won a couple of games here in the last couple of weeks. That's a winnable game. I doubt they do, to be honest with you. They're definitely not beating the Pats. They're definitely not beating the Bills. I think the Jets are going to end the season with 3 wins. For the Arizona Cardinals, who have 3 wins as well, they have 2 winnable games, one against Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons. They also play Joe Burrow and the Bengals, and it doesn't even feel like it's a Joe Burrow-led team, and they're not beating the Week 18 Rams unless maybe the Rams are resting their players, and that could be a pretty good outcome for the Giants. So there's a way, even for the Giants, if they do beat the Raiders, to still be picking number 2 overall or number 3 overall. But if you want the number 1 overall pick, if the Giants want to hold the keys to the castle to make a trade down that can greatly affect this franchise into the future, it's going to come down to that game against the Las Vegas Raiders. Week 17. You're both 2-12. It's the toilet bowl. But this toilet bowl, it gets a pretty damn good prize if you lose. So that's important. And even if the Giants do lose, do beat the Raiders, we are going to be all aboard the Las Vegas Raiders train in Week 18 for them to go and beat Gardner Minshew and the Kansas City Chiefs. If you want the Giants to secure the number 1 overall pick so they can trade down, get a bunch of assets, and start to build a winning football team, hit that thumbs up icon right now and make sure you are following me on social media. I post and tweet about the Giants all day, every day at Marshall Green _.